Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television from the economic capital of Nigeria. I am Henry Igwebike.
And I am Jane. I know.
All right, we kick off today with our newspaper headlines, and right after that in the jiffy would be our main conversation also. For today, please do well to be part of what we do. Have a say in what we say. You can always find and reach us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. We're very so honored this morning to have with us Innocent Aduluba, journalist, public affairs analyst. Thank you so very much, Innocent, and good morning.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you. All right, Jane, what do we have for this morning? But just before we get into our newspapers, I think it's very important. This is actually from the Punch newspaper, but it made headlines in all the newspapers. But let's just take a look at what it is talking about from the Punch newspaper this morning. UTME mass failure, proof of anti-malpractice measures working. And that's coming from the Minister of Education, Dr. Alausa. Innocent, what have you got to say about this?
Oh, well, sometimes there are comments that are better not made. Words better not said. In this instance, where there is a failure, we shouldn't be looking for justifications. We should be lamenting. We should be looking for what ought to have shored up failure, to have shored up success. Were they carried out? You know, I wrote my WAEC over 20 years ago now, and in my time, the teachers in my secondary school, I'm proud to name it St. Patrick's College, Calabar, the teachers who call you and flog you in their staff room.
For failure?
No, the exams have not come yet. They tell you are not reading well, as if they are your parents. They carry out lessons, and when the time is over and you ask questions that you don't understand, they teach extra, sometimes 30 minutes for an hour. Their business, their pride is that it will be said that students from St. Patrick's College are among the high scorers in WAEC. And there were scholarships for us. If you left school without a P, then it was A1, A2, A3, C4, C5, C6, P7, P8, then F9. So if you left without a P, you get the Don Bosco Scholarship Award, which, to the glory of God, I was a beneficiary. You know, so when such comments come out, you wonder like, are we justified? My friend in NYC will say nobody can justify injustice, you know. And in the build up to this work, lots of people will say these results were not unexpected. You post, you give people exams location that are 3-4 hours journey from where they live. You fix exams like we hear around 6:30 a.m. Some parents allegedly or reportedly lodged with their children in hotels in places of closer proximity to make it. Is this how you prepared for?
No.
Is this how you prepared for? So lots of the basics, if you ask me, from media reports, from experience, even some parents complained across social media, leading to the exams. It hadn't held at the time.
Even Peter Obi himself equally questioned the timing.
You know, and like I just mentioned my school, I mentioned WAEC, not JAM. So from that WAEC, they now groom you, or you carry the grooming for which you have been prepared into your JAM, because JAM, you are not attached to any secondary school anymore. And the teachers will tell you, we are preparing you, we are prepping you, as you cross this WAEC, you have to nail your JAM, because in JAM, the subjects are fewer. If you could nail 9-8 subjects in WAEC, you will become a specialist of 4 subjects. And to the glory of God, I just wrote JAM once. I was sleeping at home when a neighbor saw my name in the Sun newspaper as someone who made the first list in Unilag. I knew neither a lecturer nor a student. And I knew the grooming, the tutelage from my teachers and well-wishers paid off. So if where there is this kind of failure, monumentally, the first nobility item is for that minister to resign. That under my watch, there is failure That's incompetence. That's falling short of your KPI. You know. So it's not. So when the minister says this, does he feel glorified? Does he feel dignified? Does he feel like he's worth his wages? The one I'm talking now, I don't know who was the education minister at the time. I used to know because part of our quiz, Professor Babs Fafunwa was the minister of education in my time. And I would say, God rest his soul, I never met him. I was schooling in Calabar. He did well because I was a product of his administration.
Because even if we even take a look at the 80s, I remember then the Minister of Education during General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida's regime was Maman Vatsa.
Okay. An army man.
Army man, and he was very, very
Isn't
great.
he the one who was later executed?
Yes, exactly. You know, so this is to speak to us that what we have really is a gory situation.
You know, education is something personalized. I'm to analyze it. But I'm using myself. Parents have kids who go to school now. So you wouldn't want the gatekeepers, to come out and allude to the gallery and feel justified. No. You see, in Nigeria, if you look, every item of development is in short supply, except education. And that's why education is overflooded. Look, if power, electricity is steady, the currency is not impotent, you don't have killer headsmen in the bushes, farmers are farming freely, somebody can carry out his welding job quickly, easily. A carpenter is building, you are harvesting tomato, you are selling, and the rest. Believe me, if I am wrong, I will say apology in advance. Everybody does not belong in the classroom. There is division of labor into different professions.
But we cannot take away education outrightly off.
I didn't say don't go to school.
Okay.
You see, the people have gone to school up to the WAEC level. An apprentice who does not have an aspiration in furthering education need not write JAMB. Isn't that clear? You know, look, in my class at the MSc, we had finished master's degree. I had called one of my friends, bros, how is it going? And he just registered for tailoring or fashion design. And the person he registered with was his WAEC mate who never went to university or master. He, at the time, had owned buildings, had chains of his tailoring stores, and was an employer of labor already.
This example you have given is why a lot of people have lost interest in education, because some of them have believed, with all the I go to school, you have to search for a job. If you don't know who, yeah. So it became a cliche then. Who education help? Who education help? Our education is a scam, because eventually you go to school somehow. You read Yoruba, eventually you find yourself in bank and all of it. So the credibility of having to go to school and going to the classroom, let's use it like that, because there's education from the home. You understand? We have informal education, formal education, and all that. It begins to question. And then if the minister, just like you said, can celebrate that,
yes,
the cheating chief had been tackled, then what level of education are we, where are we when it comes to education in our country?
Education, take it from me, education is a scam.
Oh, so you're also a subscriber of that?
Education is a scam recently. Education in Nigeria has been made by the Nigerian government to become a scam. In the days of yore, there were rubber plantations. Nigeria assembled vehicles, Leland, Stay, you name them. Radio stations, cocoa plantations, groundnut pyramids, Beniseed, salt. Education was not a scam. People from all of this go to school to wait for graduates and give them job. And so parents were eager to produce, motivate, and push their children to go to school and graduate. You and I know that in those days, when someone is graduating, there is the popular Beatles vehicles.
That will be given to you,
You
as
know,
a gift, as a graduate.
You know, and maybe it could be a higher purchase, or I don't know how it's done. But, and then at the time, university undergraduates ate for free, quarter chicken. At that time, that government ensured that education was worth it. So today, the government in power in the last 20, 30 years have made education a scam to the extent of this analysis. So every quarter, you turn out coppers who come out of education, tertiary institution, into employment wilderness. Because the last batch of coppers now don't know where they will work yet. In the days of your future is guaranteed.
But don't you think that is because the population of those who were entering and going for a tertiary education were few?
No, that's not it. It's that there was a system that works. Nigeria is not the most
We have
populated
lower
country
people who
in the
attended
world.
school. I remember that it could be one person that the whole family is struggling for to go to school. So the person can help train the others.
Because the reward for education was in existence. This education, Nigerians who travel abroad and now go to school in the United States, Canada, or UK are reaping the same results that were present 30, 40 years ago.
Very true.
So in Nigeria, there is a steady decline, erosion of the reward, the objective reward for education. Somebody who graduates, finish NYSC now, will take his or her NYSC certificate and result and go to MFM or Redeem and lie down there for 2 weeks praying.
We have some
Meanwhile, you didn't graduate from a praying competition.
We have some parents now who have subscribed to skill acquisition for their kids or their words, so to speak, instead of now going to school. I've heard a conversation by some parents who say, oh, what's the need when I still have to feed my kids after school? So what I have now learned to do, some people have even learned homeschooling, you know, adopted that homeschooling. And aside from that, thinking that, okay, if just for the example that you gave, that a graduate will have to go and learn a skill, he went to learn tailoring from someone who was his secondary school mate.
Doing well.
Who stopped schooling, who is not
and
doing
that person
well.
is now an employer of labor.
So she now has, or he now has to become an apprentice
So that person,
under that person.
with all his education.
Some parents have said, well, instead of that, is Kuku better, it's better off that I just let my word go learn a skill that I'm sure that he has a skill, he has something self-reliant, and then become a boss of himself instead of then going to school.
No, you see, education is the key,
bedrock,
the gateway out of ignorance. But you see, education beyond knowledge must reward the individual to help him hold onto a means of livelihood. That's the ultimate end of educating a child or an individual. That you grow and can stand on your own to earn a living, build a family, and then carry on from where parents have stopped. What we are doing now, we are at work because we are educated and trained for this. And like I said, not everybody belongs to the classroom. There are those who must sit and listen to what we are doing. But they have their trade. Okay, as we are seated now, Nigeria is a country with over 200 million people. The basics for the wealth of this country are overlooked. The basics are food, shelter, and clothing, which are our physiological needs. You know, and this clothes I'm wearing is not made in Nigeria. It now means Nigeria cannot clothe herself. We are an import-dependent country of clothes. What happened to this was a tailor sewed it. The fabric were not made here. But Nigeria, in the days of yore, has massive textile functioning companies. I've been to Kakuri United Textiles in Kaduna. Sure. There is the ones at Aswani here. There were large cotton farms. Where are they today? The land didn't run away. It's still there. No cotton.
What happened to our technical schools?
Well, that's a talk for another day, to be honest to you, because, there's so much to talk about on this particular matter. And that's why, for me, I'm very much concerned about, those that we put in the helm of affairs in this country, when we have a Dr. Alausa, who I would love to believe is a medical doctor, actually.
That means he passed through education.
And he's given today the portfolio to serve as the Minister of Education. And one would really ask, isn't it a round peg in a square hole? Because he doesn't truly understand,
It is.
you know, the rules of engagement that allows a child, or the formative period of what makes a child from being what he is to something better, especially in that process.
Education ministers should be taken from among teachers.
Exactly.
Because as we speak,
I was going to say this, that why should, I mean, you know, only God knows. Because there should be a criteria.
Yeah.
And why I'm sorry to cut you, why I'm saying this is, the system has also made education a highly lucrative business. So, alternative to federal and state public universities are a plethora of private universities that parents pay through their noses to send children to. And so in these guys, people will do whatever it takes to get their children to cross the jam line. Take it that the days of prelim remedial seem to almost, you know, so in those days there were packages, processes that helps to qualify a child outside the jam route.
Yes.
You know, so look, a lot of Nigerians are just surviving on their own.
Very true.
They're just surviving on their own. Education is not getting the right attention it deserves. And if we want to deepen this conversation further, it will take too much time. Some children in public schools who wrote this jam receive education under trees.
Very true.
If there are pictures when it rains, their desks are flooded, roofless buildings.
Unfortunately, we're not even talking about those in the IDPs. That's a talk.
No, not even IDP.
Yes,
regular
course,
people in their
village.
Yes.
But let's take a look at the Daily Trust newspaper and equally take a look at other matters there. We have here how important waivers are crippling local rice mills. What other stories do we have from there?
Still on Daily newspaper, we have insecurity. Nigeria is bleeding. Akpabio.
And yet again, Urumi killings, 40 days after families demand justice for slain hunters.
Right, still there, we have 1 million children at risk of malnutrition in Borno, Adamawa, Yobe.
Yes, on the bottom strip here, very, very hilarious one here. The Kano government directs LGAs to release 670 million naira for Emir Sanusi's car.
Interesting.
Innocent, let's take a look at how import waivers are crippling local rice mills. Yesterday at the FEC meeting, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his people actually brought forward to Nigerians the Nigeria First policy. What that meant actually was that government parastatals would buy local and not foreign, which is another way of encouraging local production in Nigeria. Be that as it may, very laudable program. But at the same time, don't you think it is hypocritical, knowing that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, up until yesterday and this morning, still goes around with an Escalade made in Chicago, in the United States of America, when we have Innocent and Nod. He still goes for vacation in France, when we have Calabar, Bauchi, and other interesting places. When it comes to healthcare, he still goes around to many hospitals and clinics in the UK, where we have a federal teaching hospital. So, why the Nigeria First policy?
Well, it's a very excellent policy coming in at the wrongest time. You can have that if you have alternatives on ground that are sustainable. I just mentioned clothes. So if you ban clothes import, do we have textile companies running? Which one? Where? If you ban canned tomato, do we have tomato processing companies in Nigeria? How many? Proportional to the population. If you ban importation of fruit juice, are we processing fruit juice in Nigeria? We. At what volume? You know, so, and the margins tells you the president, President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed, is speaking to the clouds. You know, James Hadley Chase will say, tell it to the birds. Vehicles are manufactured in Nigeria, you've mentioned it. There is GSC, there is Innocent.
Innocent.
Which Nigerian elected person local government chairman, a member of a state house of assembly, governors, federal house of rep, senate members, ministers, the presidencies. Which of them are driving vehicles from GAC, from Innocent? Which of them that can flaunt it and say,
Yes,
I remember was it Governor Ikpeazu of Abia, the former governor,
yes,
used to say that it is only made in Aba. He flaunts it. So we can now say this man is living his talk. So if we say this, the Nigerian politicians from President Buhari, God rest his soul, President Yaradua, all go out for foreign medical repairs. And when you go for foreign medical repairs, you have just ignored Nigerian medical system, including the expensive one built at the Aso Rock. Neither could you invite the medics and paramedics to come here, at least let them come into Nigeria
and make use of
and then treat you. They all jet out at will. So the law is lacking inequality. Is lacking. The law restricts, in quotes, poor Nigerians, and then it's not binding on rich Nigerians. This is a wristwatch. Where is it made? If we ban all of this, do we have an equivalent one? We are wearing glasses. Where are they made? If we ban them, this is a wig on Jane's hair. Is it made in Lagos? It's made from somewhere. When you ban it, can we point? You know, I'm expecting that when you ban one item, you can even point at, you know,
an alternative.
So it's an excellent policy falling down in the wrong era. That's all.
That's a very big one, actually.
So how will we find it workable? Just like you said, I mean, you know, we are all clamoring for made in Nigeria. I appreciate made in Nigeria. I remember during the time of Obasanjo then that he says we must always wear our attire as a, you know, this and this.
Yeah, but that was even why on Fridays, right?
Yes,
it became like a national
thing
that we must go along with our traditional attires.
But the traditional attires are made in where? We import all these fabrics from China and Turkey and wherever, then sew it with a tailor or fashion designer and then call it made in Nigeria. I've been to Kano to look at the Kano cotton fields. A man then, 2018, took me around. I had called, got to town, someone connected, and the man was lamenting. He said he's 63. The land are there on which this cotton are farmed. Nothing is on it anymore.
But I would love us to take a look at this from another vantage point. You know, what we're talking about now is very similar to what's happening in the United States of America. When Donald Trump came on board and said the protectionism issue, where he believed in America First program. But the truth, economists there have told them, is America is a service-oriented nation. That they've gone past that era where everyone needs to gather in a production hub, in industrial, facility and produce, because of they have gone past that. So they push that to countries that can do that better. So don't you think, yes, so don't you think in a globalized world, we should fight our fight. We should eat what we can chew, not just taking all because we feel we've had or we have a big mouth to do that.
Henry, this is May. Today's date is?
Today is 7th.
So we are 22 days away from the mid-term anniversary of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. As regards production, he may have excelled in many places. What can we point at that was instituted by this administration? It is standing and it is producing something. You hear a lot of corporate lies. Oh, government has no business with production. They create an enabling environment. The governments have public corporations. It exists everywhere in the world. It has a modern name, PPP, public-private partnership. Which one can we point at? Physically, it is standing and it is running. Nowadays, some of the achievements of this administration is Dangote's refinery, a private person's property, irrespective of who are the co-investors. It's now government's achievement. Why? It is a product of the reforms of the ongoing government. I ask, is the NNPC immune to these reforms? That's an older refinery standing. Is it immune? So, look, where there is the absence, okay, if we want to talk all of this around, it comes down to one index, the power of your local currency. Is the Naira growing or shrinking?
Because the truth of the matter is, if we locally produce here, it becomes more expensive. The reason why rice is an all-time high during Muhammad Buhari's era was because he banned the importation of rice. And it was said that Nigerians should produce their own rice, and the price of rice jumped.
Was it well timed? Was it well timed? Secondly, with regards to farming, farmers today are being threatened not to farm by killer headsmen. So look, if you name one thing, it will overlap into another. This country reputed for quenching wars in Liberia and Sierra Leone cannot quench insurgencies in pockets. In fact, I've seen where those who fought these headsmen were arrested. Maybe they came, let me use the word my village. The people who fought them were arrested. Corpses of the village people were lying down. Those who they fought with were freed. And I doubt if these people from that village killed their kinsfolk. So look, if we say one, it would overlap into another. And I'll be seen to be saying nothing glorious about this administration. Allow people to, as we speak, farmers are divorced from their farming community and quarantined in IDP camps in millions. What in this Nigeria Fest, is that what you called it?
Yes, Nigeria.
Where is the place of Nigerians quarantined in IDP camps? Is it a front topic? These are people who are consumers of our economy with the capacity to also produce. And is the IDP camp an ideal place for them to live to the fullest? When will people in IDP camps be returned permanently into an equally permanently safe environment where they can thrive? Look, the records are there. How old are we? This same country had currency bigger than the dollar. And it was from the soil, the one God has endowed Nigeria with, fertile, a fixed gift of nature, that all of this came from.
And that still remains also.
The Awolowos, we know what they did. We know those who, as a boy, I was living in Benin in 1988, and I used this my eye to see vehicles. We went to march in a place called Naifo, and I saw buses there, Malaysia. I was shouting Malaysia, the teacher there, Malaysia. Now, in 2008, which is 20 years after, I was traveling by road with a team to Port Harcourt for a Lions Club meeting. The front of Igbenedion University, that junction, had gravel. So the driver just took another road. I never knew. At the time, in 1988, at that 94, you cannot see the sun in the afternoon. Palm trees, massive canopies of palm trees. There's another banner, Okumu Oil Plantation. But in 2008, 20 years later, I saw that same banner, Okumu, and I was telling people in the vehicle, we will see a lot of palm trees. We didn't see any. The land is still there. Like I mentioned for the cotton. The palm trees, that was Nigeria's mainstay. At the time, I was the largest producer of palm oil in Nigeria. The land is still there. No palm trees. So those are the first. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, reputed and renowned as an economist, a commercial mobile mover, a great thinker, should be looked. Those are the first. When you have these things down, And then when you call it first, so nobody should fault rice being expensive because import was banned. Was the shock absorber created? That's all.
Very true. Very similar to the subsidy. Subsidy is gone.
It's actually thought-provoking.
Thought-provoking, actually. You know, the subsidy is gone. Talk that he impulsively made. That wasn't even on the text there. He impulsively did that, and today he's regretting it. But unfortunately, the interest of removing or going back is an issue. But let's take a look at other matters just before we leave for today. We have 1 million children at risk of malnutrition in Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe. That cannot be oversaid. Innocent had said that. I'd love you to combine that possibly with insecurity in Nigeria is bleeding. Insecurity. Nigeria is bleeding, and that is coming from Akpabio.
Well, Akpabio is one man who is credited with that comment, other Nigerians. I don't know if you know, the other ordinary Nigerian. So he is in a, what's that word? There is this topic in school, elite theory. In elite theory, there is elite circulation. And so Akpabio is already circulated in the upper echelon. And so as an elite, he can say this and withdraw back to his cozy environment. And that would translate to lip service. That's what translates to lip service. You see, people like, there is that professor we read online, Mulumba.
Yes.
Including the man that is much maligned, Traore in Burkina Faso. There are heroes in India, Mahatma Gandhi. You know, these are people who live the lives of their people. So when they say this, you will know they are speaking from what they are feeling. In developed democracies, Switzerland, the United States of America, representatives of the people, whether at state level or federal level, don't live it. If you are from Ogun State and you are representing Ijebu-Ode at Ogun State House of Assembly, you don't live in Abeokuta. It is statutory that you live in Ijebu and attend assembly meetings. If you are from Obowo or Ngopala in Imo, and you are in that constituency representing your people in Abuja, you are not to live in Abuja. You attend senator sessions, plenaries, and after they close, you go and live with your people. So if Godswill Akpabio, Senate President, is not even from Uyo, if he is not from Uyo, as in Uyo is the capital of Akwa Ibom, there are many good places there, Eke, Korekpene, Itru, Etinan, Ekpetai, many of those local governments there, Parenin, like that. If he is from one of those, statutorily, as in if he's not even from the state capital that is, let me use the word, urbanized, that is where he should be living. And then when he says Nigeria is bleeding, it will be just reckonable that this man is speaking from the environment where
he is.
But as soon as someone gets voted, even someone you know, he relocates to Abuja and makes triumphant entry back home. You see them coming back, people line, drum, and what their achievement is they won election. They didn't invent a broom or two people. You know, so it's a travesty that it's just like what I just said now. While Akpabio, the Senate President, all senators, governors, ministers live on islands of opulence, masses of Nigerians are wallowing in oceans of poverty. Beginning with those in IDP camps who are now non-topics. Henry, in all your newspaper review, when last did you read about IDP camp people?
Well, yesterday, the governor of Borno State is planning to...
Is planning?
Yes, he's actually
working on it.
He's working on it.
Making their return back to...
Yes, he has made their returns back to their villages and ensuring that over 1,000 or 2 remaining with IDPs will be returned back soon. Just him alone, actually.
In his state.
In his state.
You know there are IDP camps across the country.
Very true.
Plus When he does that, it's commendable. We will celebrate him. Are they also forestalling the menace of the marauders? Not when you go to your village.
That is another
after 1 week.
That is actually a question to consider.
Yeah.
Because if you return back to their stay, are you doing anything to ensure that
The stay is permanent.
What took them away from that?
Yes.
Do not
There'll be no
happen again.
thunder, lightning will not strike twice.
Because if you return them back, it's like a time bomb.
Very true.
That is waiting to explode.
And the health situation in the IDP camps is not worth discussing.
It's even worse than that. Sometimes some of the people that are supposed to care for them are raping women there.
Oh, I say it's not worth discussing.
So I mean,
It's not worth discussing.
so the situation is not palatable.
These are Nigerians. We claim we are not at war. We have IDP camps almost challenging the ones in Somalia. And we are not at war.
Very true. Very irking, really, to the ears. And we truly do hope that things will get better. That's what we've been asked to do and to hope. We're a religious country. Maybe that's the medicine that we need to always get.
We must ask ourselves, how long will this hope be?
Henry, there is a woman called Ese Agese.
Okay.
In my primary school days, she sang that song. We used to use it at Christmas to dance. Nigeria go survive.
Yeah.
Africa go survive.
Very true.
My people go survive. Oh. People
Mr.
born
Nation.
that time.
Yes.
Of course, that was like the late 80s.
Yeah, that was 88, 89.
How old are people born? Some of them have finished NYSC. In fact, have finished giving. Some of them have kids in secondary school now and are still looking at the crystal ball of when Nigeria
Will be better.
and they are still telling their own children that Nigeria will be better. Their children are,
So you are saying, in other words, our hope is endless.
well, hope is the last thing to leave a man.
And Innocent, at the end of that song, you remember when they said, Andrew, don't check out, oh. And Andrew now said, you said what? Then she now says, stay and build your country. Nigeria go better. And the person that actually acted Andrew is late now.
Enebele.
Yes. So just to let you know that so many Andrews have left this country. Medical doctors have left the country. IT experts and gurus have left the country.
People are taking loans to leave.
People are selling off their properties and leaving the country because they do not trust Nigeria any longer. Well, we need another person to do a remix of that song. Hopefully, maybe that would make it better and encourage Nigerians to stay if it's possible. Well, that's the end to this particular segment. I'd love to say thank you to Innocent Aduluma for being part of it.
It's always my pleasure to be
Thank you
here.
so very much. So Jen will be moving on to the next one, and that is when we return. I don't need validation from political opportunists. Atiku replies Abuala. That's in the beat of Still Enterprise Morning. Please don't go anywhere. If you just joined us, you're still on to Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get to our conversation for today. The 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, said he neither seeks nor requires a validation from political opportunists who shared principles as easily as they change parties.
Atiku made the statement through his media advisor, Paul Ibe, on Tuesday in response to comments made by Daniel Bwala, Special Advisor to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on policy communication, during an interview on TVC's Journalists Hangout on Monday. However, Atiku called it both ironic and unfortunate that Bwala, who previously served as his spokesperson, now assumes the role of lecturing a globally respected statesman on issues like legacy, destiny, and retirement.
The former vice president said he would not be distracted by political jesters pretending to be patriots, emphasizing that rescuing and rebuilding Nigeria is a matter of urgent national importance. He continued, a legacy is not defined by the trappings of office, but by courage, consistency, and conviction. Atiku Abubakar's legacy as a unifier, builder, and patriot is deeply etched in the consciousness of millions of Nigerians. It is impervious to the revolutionist bill of yesterday's defectors turned today's defender of dysfunction.
And very well, joining us in the studio today, we have Wale Ogwande, human rights activist and constitutional lawyer. It's good to have you join us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so very much, Barrister.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get talking. I'd love to start my conversation today on the issue of consistency and ideology. As much as we believe that politics is a game of interest, there's one natural thing that overrides everything, and that is the issue of consistency and your ideology and your belief for something. When we have someone who prior to the general election said that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, even if he's given 30 years, would not make anything out of Nigeria. Now serving the same man he had grossly insulted. What do you make of such a behavior?
Well, it's unfortunate. First and foremost, I want to thank greet our viewers, listeners, or whichever way, those who are watching or listening one way or the other online real time. That indeed, Happy New Month is the first time we're talking to some people through this platform this month. So Happy New Month, and I pray that indeed it's going to be a great month for all of us. Be that as it may, all of us, all of these people are all the same. They are all jesters. Atiku, Bola, all these political characters, they are all jesters.
Including our president?
Of course, well, including our president, all of them, they are all running around just to make a name.
And when you say jesters, what do you mean?
When I get there, Atiku has been like a chameleon, changing political parties. He was in PDP, left PDP, ACN, ran for under that ticket, and so on and so forth. We all know that. Bola that is talking that they are now hitting. Equally, he too was in PDP. Of course, if anything, is as if he sees Tinubu on the street, he will cut his head off. But here we are today. And I like the statement you made. Ideology. None of them have it. They are just riding on the docility and the sentiments of the people to take advantage of the people. No strong ideology that if it only remains me, I'll stick to that policy. They are doing a hungry man politics, that it is where my bread will be buttered that I will go. And that is not politics. The real politician who has the interest of the people, the real journalist who has the interest of the people, the real advocate or activist who has the interest of the people, will stick with his people, including a pastor, which I am equally, will stick with his people. Come rain, come shine. And that's why the Bible tells me, if you are on the left, be on the left. If you are on the right, be on the right. And of course, it's akin to either you are hot or you are cold. You can't be two. So all these ones that they are running around, again, this heat is on because of the 2027 coming up. And you have not seen anything else. One thing I can assure the politicians is the Nigerian populace are more wiser than years before, thanks to programs like this that inform, educate, and put awareness in the public domain for people to now pick and choose who are their true leaders. I have no problem with anybody having an ambition, really. I mean, this is not the first time that somebody will be running an ambition. Franklin Delano Roosevelt did it several years, and of course our own Buhari here too. At the point of giving up, give it a last try, and it came up for him. I have no problem about ambition. But my problem is that the political class should learn to respect themselves. There's the unwritten code amongst them that a region will produce a president as it were, and after that it goes to another region, after that it goes to another region. And if they don't know how to do it, let them learn from the Nigerian Bar Association. I'm equally a barman. I have this cap, it's plenty for my head. I'm equally a barman, a lawyer as it were. So obviously, the lawyers know how to arrange themselves, that if a Hausa man is the president, after that, it is automatic. It goes to the Easterner. After that, it goes to the Westerner. Not that somebody who knows that somebody from his tribe is just ending his tenure, he will now say, yes, I want Chuk head. It's not done. So let us, even in the den of robbers, and we in the activist world see there is rules and there is.
All right, talking about, you mentioned that they all want to be where their bread will be buttered.
Yes.
Right, and we all know why a lot of them seem to want to be in the political space.
Yes.
How then can we ascertain with this?
Yeah.
Someone that really, has the heart of the people, means well for the general masses.
By their fruits, you know them. Simple. What are the antecedents in terms of your relationship with your people, with the people? It's not when elections are around the corner that you become relevant, playing politics with philanthropism. And that's what we see. Or coming into the public space and talking against government. One way or the other, Atiku has been in government before. And I'm using Atiku because he's the touch mark here. Yeah. And there are several of them. And Obasanjo equally. When they were all in government, and it now shocks me that they will now be pontificating. That yes, government should do this, government will do that. I don't know, maybe you know the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway.
Yes, very well.
And for the 8 years that Obasanjo was in government, that road was a death trap. Let's even leave that one. From his house in Ota, I don't know, maybe you know Ota Farm, to the junction, to linking Abeokuta Expressway, as I'm talking to you now, that place is a mess. So, you now come and be pontificating about government's failure. Inability to put the roads in order is big failure. I have traveled, opportunity to travel around some countries in this world, and I know that road infrastructure is key, is important, because that's what you have to use. It enables the movement of goods and, of course, products to the hinterland, to the rural, to the urban areas. So, if somebody who has the opportunity of making it right fails, well, it's only in Nigeria that people don't look historically and they just try things sentimentally. And that's why I say I appreciate programs like this, because it now puts in the public domain and it put the lie to what some people will try to use politics to cover their faces.
Unfortunately, Barrister, as much as I agree with everything you have said, with respect to our past leaders not doing what they were supposed to do at the time, and now questioning why those things are still not done. Let's, of course, agree that one of the major reasons why they have done that is because of those around them have deliberately refused to tell them the truth. When President Olusegun Obasanjo finished his 8 years, he then realized, a barrister, that it was all lies. They told him that there was electricity in Nigeria, only for him to get to Otafam and discover there was actually no electricity there. Now, how do leaders eschew themselves from the ring of those like Daniel Bwala, who are just there to feed lies and issues that are really not, that shouldn't be given so much concentration?
Well, one way or the other, I was in South Africa sometime, and I went during the lifetime of the late Madiba. The man was on the streets one day to feel the pulse of the people, see what is on ground, so as to inform his decision on what to take. Let's even leave Madiba alone. As I'm talking to you now, the State House says they want to do a solar project for a whopping 10 billion naira. Haba. I'm above 60. Ever since I've been a kid, I've been hearing about Manbila. Until today, that project has not come on stream. And is a source to making electricity there for everybody. I told you about South Africa. South Africa's power supply population is not up to Nigeria, but they have power, electricity, and that is the engine of growth. I'm sure in this place now you're on private power supply, really well. And you know how much it costs you, added to the cost of running this place, which will make life easy. So let's leave that one alone. Let's go back to Aso Rock itself, and when Obasanjo was there before he gets to Otafam. Obviously, it can't be that he will not hear the sound of generator when it steps out to know that, what's happening? You don't need to tell anybody, nobody needs to tell you that one. that if you are on general power on the generator, then there is problem with the power. That is one. Two, Obasanjo himself made a statement that he cares. He does have these advisors because it's the constitutional provisions. He may not take the advice, or he will not take the advice. The statement came from him directly. So, even if this advisor advises them, true or false, there is a way to check out. You are not running goods. You are leading people, human people who have feelings. And to that extent, leaders should not exculpate themselves or excrete themselves or divorce themselves from the people.
So what then is masking them away from the people, as against what we see in international communities all around the world?
It's their conduct now. They know that they have not done well, because I expect that even all this bombing and all this killing will attract attention of government directly. The other day, I guess in America, when there was some flood somewhere, I can't remember the issue, but Obama went there himself. Yeah. Identified with the people. That's what we're talking about, leadership, feeling our pain. Not that we now tell our spinners, media people to begin to talk. This is not issue of wash. This is reality on ground. I crisscross Nigeria. Well, recently now the road network is getting better. But sometimes, particularly the east-west road, yes. I don't know, maybe you know that place.
Yes, very well, yeah. The one that was started with from President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's era. And unfortunately, he has not been able to do it.
It's a nightmare.
And it became the talk of the town when they say he abandoned his own
community.
So you can imagine all this. So do you need a spokesperson? You don't need a spokesperson. These things are reality. And all Nigerians are not asking for something difficult. Simple, making life easy for us. As I told you earlier on, I've crisscrossed the 774 local governments in this country.
All right, so what then can we do to ensure that this, we have them, or force them, if I can use that word, to be at, we have laws, we have
to be at the forefront
to be the, what exactly they should be.
No, you don't need to force. This is the time now to headhunt, as they say in the human resources language. Headhunting means looking for those people that move an organization or a corporation or a company and make them to be result-oriented. Like the management here, they have chosen you guys. If you are not delivering, but I'm sure you won't be here 2 days more than. But we need people who can deliver, and that's where the voters come in. As president of Voters Awareness Initiative, we know how it is that the Nigerian voter, the docility is getting up gradually. But we need to inform them, educate them, and sensitize them. That come next election, these people don't come up from the moon.
Are you aware of the trust deficit the people already have?
That's where I'm going.
They feel disenfranchised.
That's where I'm going.
They feel their votes do not count.
That's where I'm going. We are not looking at that. We are going to encourage them to come and vote. Let me tell you a scenario. There was a time where ballot box snatching was the order of the day. We have passed that stage.
And we've gravitated to a better
way of rigging. Yes, and we too are countering those better ways of rigging. So it's about the technology at play, but information at work. So we have to educate our people on the importance of being involved. But the gist, her question, is that how do we get out? We'll get out when everybody now begin to search for people who have the fear of God. It is somebody who does not have the fear of God that will see a vote of 200 million naira for health, for road, for power supply development, and all such votes in the budget, and just pack everything together, put it in his private account. That person has no fear of God. And before you know it now, you see the media will be awash with embezzlement of the highest order. Is it not someone who does not have the fear of God? During COVID, when a budget was made for children to be fed, haba, that money went otherwise. Do I need to continue mentioning several incidents of people who lack the fear of God? So when such people are entrusted with office, public office as it were, they will mess up. And it will bounce back on us.
Do you think there is really something about this public office that make them get, to that space or to their office and turn things around?
Yeah, maybe. I guess it was
we can't actually outrightly put out the fact that most people or most of them have good intention, but suddenly,
but once they get there,
it becomes something else. So, can we pinpoint what exactly causes this turnaround?
Well.
Some people have said it's because this position is attractive enough, given the cost, the allowances, everything. Do you think if that is taken away?
Yes, there's this cliche in the political circles, or in the activist world: power corrupts. Help me finish it now. And absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. I work with word. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. That absolutely is into infinitum. It has no control. So when that power is there, absolutely, the next thing is that you think you are God. You are still alive, and you remember Abacha.
Very well.
He played God. Yes. That's absolute power. And of course, don't forget, the journalists call him the maximum ruler. So that's my problem, my sister. So once they are in that office, if one does not have the power of God, the fear of God, he will do everything absolutely. People mean nothing to you. Suffering of the people means nothing to you. You see that with money, you can do everything. With money, you can entrench yourself in power, and you will see it playing out. So the foundation of it is that our people will look at this. These politicians don't come from heaven. And of course, for your information, all politics is local. So before anybody becomes president, before anybody becomes governor or a senator, it's from the local level. And that's why you see a whole Adams Oshiomhole, it was his word that removed him. As national chairman of a party, a petition came from the ward and shaken him. Local village in Orumi. So when the people now begin to question and put force to the actions of their leaders or their representatives, even not leaders, their representatives, even their servants, because the elections will soon be in the corner now. They will be begging you, vote for me, vote for me. They are begging you. We will represent you very well. They are telling you that send them on an errand. And if you send someone on an errand, is he your master or your servant? So you send them on an errand and you begin to question their activities in that office. But unfortunately, it's not done. And I'll tell you, and I want all journalists who are watching this program, constituency offices. How many of these political office holders, or particularly the elective representative, run their constituency office? Because that's where their constituents come and meet them. And of course, for them to interact with them, it's not there.
Well, okay. They always have constituency offices. Either they go there or not is another talk for another day.
Yes,
but I am very so excited that you are an advocate for electoral, a campaign and education. We can't paint all the picture today without mentioning INEC.
Yes.
Very pivotal.
Yes.
Just yesterday, Professor Peter Oban, who admitted to have rigged election for Senator Godswill Akpabio, has been sentenced to serve 3 years, while the beneficiary of the corruption, of the criminal corruption, is our number 3 man of the country. So the question now is, how can we really encourage Nigerians to support the system of electoral process while the electoral umpire itself has lots of debts in it?
That's another issue, and it's something that we are taking up. INEC is the election management body. Through it, political office holders get elected. Their strength lies in their true independence and giving them power to prosecute.
And you think it's possible for them to get that 100% independence?
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going, and that's where you and I have a role to play here. You and I. You, the media, we, the activists, are a combination of putting this in the public light, carrying out strong advocacy. It's not, you don't get freedom just by freely. It is a struggle. And that's why you hear people like us. You say, Aluta, continue.
Victoria,
are you one of us?
Okay, I want to say, we all know you talked about consistency, you talked about, because you know how they play out these things in parties, you deliver your constituency from Nigerian. I mean, but you know what do you make of this using what I want, to get at me? This is what I'm trying to say in essence. I mean, having me to sell my birthright because I'm hungry, because that is the tool that is being used.
Yes.
So in all these constituencies, all these local, areas, the level of poverty. Do you not see this playing out again?
It will play out to some extent.
So how do we
through advocacy, we can stop it.
Can you stop someone who is hungry, barrister? Because someone who is hungry needs food.
Let us go. Let us go. Let us go. You see, someone who is hungry,
yes,
you go talk to him. That how much are they giving you for how many years? It's about advocacy. It's about engagement. And I see people, the new gen will say conversation, yes, or discussion. So they don't know. This is their own crumbs of the natural. This is their own chin-chin, yes, from the national cake. So they will take it. And don't forget, the typical wafi man will say, nah, wolf, me go chop am. But you let them know that this a wolf is the run belly. And you let them know the running belly system or the effect of the running belly. They will say, no, go with your money. We are going to vote right. We want better government. We want better representation, and so on and so forth. Let me quickly dovetail, because it's very important, yes, this issue of INEC. If INEC is not independent, we can't go further. And that's why my colleagues, I'm sure one or two of them are watching. We are working on something, and I hope that all of us can come together to see how we can sustain the advocacy for a truly independent INEC before the next general election.
And what is it you wouldn't want to spill it?
The people just said now that we are working against vote rigging. They too know. So when I spill out the beans now, obviously they will work against it. All we know is that is a strategy that we want to, so that the Nigeria will be free. Once we can, elections are taking place in Ghana.
Yes.
Election took place in Kenya.
Yes.
In Kenya.
Yes.
Hey, where is it again? No, Sierra Leone, yes, or somewhere.
Gabon.
I knew that I was in Sierra Leone when an election took place, and you see the seamless way.
Seamless. We can have this done, yes, in Nigeria.
So why can somebody pervert the cause of justice, and the beneficiary of that office is still enjoying it? It's a trying thing.
Yes.
If somebody is guilty of an offense or of a conduct, then whatever and whoever is the beneficiary of a conduct goes with him. They rise and fall together. That's the principle of law, and it can't be deviated from. So, when we have a seamless or an independent body, because for your information, sir, Amma, the present members of the National Assembly cannot work for an independent INEC just like that. Why? Because they are beneficiaries of a independent yes, INEC.
Very true.
So putting a law or setting up a law that will castrate them, obviously, the principle is that everyone wants self-preservation.
But they are the one to make the rules. They are the one that have been constitutionally have been bestowed the opportunity to change. Electoral reforms will be talking about that. INEC recently came to say that we wouldn't be using PVC cards again. And people lamented this is an easy road for multiple rigging in Nigeria. Now the question is, you said that the current parliamentarians cannot ensure independence of the electoral body. The question is, how then do we achieve an independence for the electoral body?
We are not neophytes in this business. For your information, in 1979 to maybe 1993, it was a piece of paper, common piece of paper that is used as a voter's card, if you can remember. And of course, what will happen is that the electoral officer will just stamp and sign. We worked against that. It became a law that yes, there must be a voter's card, truly done. And of course, I was one of those. Even I was the one who mentioned it to Jega at one of our meetings that, look, let's do the voters card to be like the Nigerian currency. Let it have a color different from each put, so as to discourage ballot box snatching.
Okay.
Let us give them serial numbers and so on and so forth. If you see a typical voter's card, ballot paper, that's what it is now. And along the line, we moved it on till it became something that is a working tool in Nigeria.
And now we're moving backwards again.
Whichever way, that's why I'm telling you that we are working on it. I mean, we have gotten to the level where all those issues that bedeviled the initial democratic journey are now things of the past. So we are moving forward. We are not deterred. Some of us are morbid Democrats. We believe in democracy, and we ensure that the institutions of democracy and democratic structures and tradition are followed. It has been done in other climes, so it must be done in Nigeria.
Very, very true. Barrister, just before we let you leave, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu is one man that has been at the center of the storm.
Yes.
Nigerians have really criticized him so much. Falz the Bad Guy, a notable Nigerian musician, actually did a song for him. And Nigerians followed suit, lambasting him on how he carried out the 2023 general elections, which of course is still very debatable, who won and who did not win. It's about to let go, and the question is, do we still desire that the president decides who should man this office?
That's where advocacy comes in, using this example you just cite, because in other climes, the chairman of INEC goes through a lot of scrutiny, not the sole prerogative of the president. So, if that narrative is changed, and of course Nigerians have an input, this person is the person we want to bring in as INEC chairman. It's done in other countries, then people put in their reactions to it, and it is that reaction that will determine either he goes in or he gets out. Simple. But again, just as I told you earlier on, we are working on something, and I pray that very soon, before even the end of this year, maybe, we begin to see signs of these our activities.
All right, that's just about the time we have. Thank you so very much, Barrister, for being here. We truly do appreciate you sincerely.
To God be the
yes,
glory.
and just to say that most importantly, Nigeria can only be a great nation when the rule of law is respected. Nigeria can only be a great nation when our leaders, symbolic, value-driven individuals, just like Barrister did say, when we have people who are not intentional, who do not have this intentional leadership thing in them, they are selfish, they are greedy, we cannot achieve all of this. And just to say, Barrister, I really loved the way the NBA carries out its election. Seamless. Every member, registered member, sits in their home, wherever it is, and they direct or they select whoever it is from their mobile phones.
We'll get there.
Yes, and we hope that we get there.
We'll get there.
We seriously hope that we get there, Henry, because I just want to believe that there's an ulterior motive to all of those things. If we can have the ATM working,
in fact, you don't finish me.
because it involves money. It's workable. So why is voting not workable in this regard? Well, we are seriously hopeful, and we hope that there will be a change come 2027.
Yes, thank you so very much, Barrister Wale.
To God be the glory.
We truly do appreciate once more. And people, that's just about the time we have. I'd love to say thank you for making this picture complete. Please do well to read up more on everything we've discussed today when you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally rewatch if you want to when you visit us at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry Ikwepike.
And I am Jane Aina.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.